The living room smelled like cinnamon and pine. The air was warm and cozy, but it also felt heavy, like something big was about to happen. My brother James stood by the Christmas tree. He was wearing a new fancy sweater that looked expensive, and he held a leather folder in his hands. Mom and Dad were sitting on the cream-colored sofa, looking calm. My sister Amara and her husband Dorian sat on the small love seat, whispering to each other. Uncle Leander leaned against the fireplace mantel with his arms crossed. He had a quiet, serious look. The room was quiet, except for the faint sound of Christmas music playing from the kitchen speaker. The lights on the Christmas tree twinkled softly. The smell of cinnamon from the candles mixed with the scent of pine from the tree. Everything seemed peaceful, but there was a tension in the air, like everyone was waiting for something important to happen. "I've been handling Amaranth's buildings," James said. His voice was calm, but he sounded proud. He opened the leather folder slowly, like it was a treasure chest. "The 8 rental buildings she's been holding on to sold them. All of them. They closed yesterday." I was drinking coffee, and my cup stopped halfway to my mouth. My hand felt the heat from the ceramic cup, and it seemed to burn a little. My heart sank. Those buildings, they weren't perfect. They were old and falling apart in places, but they were mine, and I had worked hard to take care of them. James kept talking. "She couldn't take care of them properly. I found buyers who would buy them, even though they needed work. We got $320,000 total." Mom held her hands together in excitement. "Oh, James, that's wonderful." James pulled out checks from the folder one by one, with a flourish. "I'm giving Christmas gifts from the money. Mom and Dad, $80,000. Amara and Dorian, $80,000. Uncle Leander, $40,000. The rest pays me and the costs for selling." I put my coffee cup down on the table carefully. It made a soft click sound, but in that tense moment, it sounded way too loud. My Leanderac felt tight. Something didn't feel right. "James," I said quietly. "You didn't sell anything." He didn't look at me. His eyes stayed fixed on the folder. "The papers are done. The money is already moved. You should be thanking me." Amara hugged him. "This is incredible. We can finally fix the kitchen. The contractor said he could start in January." Uncle Leander looked at his check and ran his thumb over the signature. $40,000. That'll cover the boat repairs and maybe even upgrade the engine. Dad shook James' hand firmly. "Son, you've always been the responsible one, taking care of your sister like this." I watched James' jaw tighten. That little twitch he always got when he was lying. I had seen it 1,000 times before. When he told Mom he hadn't taken money from her purse. When he told his colleague that I had written his papers. When he told his wife he was working late. His ear muscle would twitch, and his eyes would not meet mine. That little tell was always there. Mom turned to me. "You should thank your brother. He saved you from those buildings. You couldn't have handled it." I stood up. The room went silent for a few seconds. I could hear the Christmas music faintly in the background. "I'm going home," I said. "Amaranth, don't be ungrateful," Amara said. "James did you a favor. He could have let you fail." I grabbed my coat from the hall closet. The fur collar felt heavy in my hands. I walked to the door, my boots clicking on the floor. As I opened the door, I heard James say, "She's always been difficult about accepting help. Can't admit when she's in over her head." I drove home in silence. The streets were empty. Christmas lights blurred past my windows like streaks of color. The air outside smelled cold and crisp. I thought about everything I had done for my family. I had always tried to earn their respect, believing if I worked hard enough, they would finally notice me. I had bought buildings quietly, managed them carefully, and never asked for attention. Every achievement I kept secret, every property I bought quietly, every time I dressed simply so the family wouldn't feel uncomfortable. It was all me hoping they would finally see who I really was. But they never looked closely enough to see me. When I got home, I made a list. 8 properties, 8 property managers, 8 phone calls I needed to make in the morning. But first, I opened my laptop and created a spreadsheet called the Ghost Ledger. Item 1. Years called struggling while managing $2.4 million in buildings. Cost equals self-worth, time, and energy lost, with interest I will never get back. Item 2. Christmas 2019. James' promotion was celebrated for 45 minutes with champagne. My first property purchase was mentioned for 30 seconds. Cost equals pride, family recognition. Item 3. Every family dinner where I wore simple clothes while they wore designer clothes to feel comfortable. Cost equals being myself. Item 4. Thanksgiving 2021. Amara's new car received 20 minutes of attention. My second property purchase ignored. Cost equals family celebration, personal pride. Item 5, birthday 2020. Forgotten completely while the family threw James a surprise party 2 weeks early. Cost equals feeling important and remembered. Item 6. Emergency calls about James' business opportunities, needing $5,000 loans I never got back. Cost equals $15,000 plus trust and belief in family. Item 7. Mother's Day 2022. I spent time cleaning Mom's garage while James watched football and drank beer. Cost equals my Sunday, lost time, lost choice. Item 8. Every time I was asked to excuse James' behavior while he faced no consequences. Cost equals justice over 15 years. Item 9. Family gatherings where my rental income was called lucky while James' sales job was hard work. Cost equals recognition and respect. Item 10. Christmas 2020. My property investments were called risky, but James' crypto gambling was visionary. Cost equals being taken seriously. The ghost ledger grew to 47 items. I stopped at midnight. The ledger never really ends. It only stops being recorded for a while. December 26th, 6:47 a.m. I made coffee. The morning was cold and frost covered the windows. The air felt sharp and fresh. I started calling Riverside Property Management. This is Amaranth Chin. I need you to call this number at exactly 9 a.m. Tell him he doesn't own 2847 Riverside Drive. Use these exact words. It is very important. I gave each property manager James' cell phone number. 7 more calls, all with the same message, staggered between 9 o'clock and 9:45 a.m. I told them to be professional, to only speak the truth, and to not add extra information. At 9:02 a.m., my phone rang. James. Amaranth, he said, his voice panicked. What did you do? What's wrong? I asked slowly. Riverside Property Management called me. They said I don't own the building. They said only you are authorized to discuss it. Well, I said, pouring myself more coffee. You don't own it? Silence. I could hear him breathing heavily, like he had been running. Amaranth, the checks. I saw you hand out checks from money that doesn't exist, I said. What sale? What closing documents do you have? He asked. Another call beeped in. James, I have to go. Sounds like you're busy, I said, and I didn't answer my phone for the next hour. 17 calls from James. 6 from Amara. 4 from Mom. 3 from Dad. 1 from Uncle Leander. 18 text messages, ranging from confused to furious. At 10:30 a.m., I drove to my real estate lawyer Zephra Quinn's office. She had helped me buy my first property 6 years ago. Her office smelled like leather and old books. Did he forge documents? Zephra asked, looking at my notes. No papers exist. He just told the family he sold properties he doesn't own and wrote checks against money he doesn't have. That's check fraud. Wire fraud. If he moved money between accounts, it could be identity theft. If he used my name, I need notarized proof of ownership for all 8 properties. Also, send a cease and desist to James for unauthorized representation. Zephra nodded and wrote notes quickly. I'll have everything ready by the end of the day. Are you pressing charges? I asked. Not yet. You're pressing consequences, I said. By noon, James was at my door. I watched through the window as he rang the bell 4 times. He looked pale. His sweater had a coffee stain on the collar. His hair was messy, and he kept looking at his phone nervously. I didn't open the door. My phone rang. Amara. Amaranth, what is happening? James says the checks are going to bounce. We already paid the contractor a $10,000 deposit. He's scheduled to start January 3rd. James showed us checks, Amara said quietly. Checks aren't proof of a sale. You do own the buildings, so yes, you could have sold them, but you didn't. James had no authority. He doesn't even have the keys. Amara, we're family. You have to fix this. I'm not punishing you. I'm just no longer paying for the idea that I'm incompetent. James lied. That's his problem. I hung up. At 2 p.m., my phone rang. It was a number I didn't know. I picked up the phone and said, Hello. A man spoke on the other side. He said, Miss Chin, this is Detective Callum from the Financial Crimes Unit. We got a report about some people trying to steal money using your properties. Do you have time to talk about this? I was surprised. I said, Yes. Who made the report? Detective Callum said, Your brother's bank. They saw 8 checks bounce at the same time. Their system thought something was very suspicious, so they sent us the report. I felt nervous, but I stayed calm. I said, Okay, I can meet you. Later, at 4 p.m., I met Detective Callum at the police station. I brought all my property papers with me. I had to bring every deed, every title insurance policy, every tax record, every mortgage statement that I had fully paid. My folder was thick, about 3 inches thick. I wanted to show her everything so she could understand clearly. Detective Callum looked at the papers and said, "Your brother wrote $240,000 in checks for something that doesn't exist." She spread the papers on her desk for me to see. "This is called check fraud. He may also have pretended to be you to do it. That is a very serious crime. It is possible he even tried to use your name on some papers, which is called forgery. If he pretended he had your permission, that could be identity theft." I asked, "What happens now?" She said, "We will investigate everything. We will talk to the family members who received the checks. We will check what he said about your properties. If he said he could act for you, that is identity fraud. If he used your name without permission, that is forgery. I haven't decided yet if you want to press charges, but remember, the bank already filed a report. The investigation will go forward, with or without you. Your help just makes it easier for us to have clear evidence." I gave her everything. I had all the dates, all the times, and all the lies that my brother told. I had the names of witnesses, the checks he had given out, and what he said about handling my property. Every single thing was written down and organized carefully. By 6 p.m., my parents were calling me. I answered my mom's call. "Amaranth," she said, "there's been a misunderstanding." Her voice was careful. She always used that voice when she wanted to calm family problems. "He thought you gave him power of attorney. He said you discussed it." I said, "Mom, when did I do that? Show me the document that says I gave him permission." There was silence. Then my dad spoke. Mom had me on speakerphone. "Family helps each other," he said. "You know James was just trying to help you." I said, "Dad, I own 8 rental properties all by myself. No mortgages. Total value $2.4 million. I have owned them for 6 years. James knew this. He told you they were struggling. They are not. They make $17,000 every month after all expenses. He lied to steal from me and trick you. That is the problem." Mom's voice became sharper. "Then what?" she asked. I said, $2.4 million. "Do you want to see the documents? I can email them to you right now." 20 minutes later, they came to my house. I showed them everything. Every property deed with my name on it. Every bank statement showing the rent money coming in. Every tax return shows the income. Every maintenance record shows that a professional company manages the properties. Mom sat on my sofa holding the deed to 2847 Riverside Drive. Her hands shook slightly. "You bought this 6 years ago?" she asked. "Yes. You never told us," I said. "I remember you said something once," she said, "around Christmas 2019. You said it was a lot of responsibility, and then you changed the subject to James' car lease." Dad's hands trembled slightly as he looked through the tax returns. $17,000 a month net. That is after all the expenses. "Yes. That includes property management fees, maintenance costs, reserves for repairs, insurance, and taxes," I explained carefully. Mom asked, "Why didn't you say something?" I looked at her carefully. "I have been saying something for 6 years. You have been listening to James instead. Every time I mentioned my properties, you looked worried and quickly changed the subject. You didn't really hear me." They left without saying anything else. The door closed softly behind them. I heard their car start. They sat there for 5 minutes before driving away. On December 27th, Amara's contractor called her. The $10,000 deposit check James gave bounced. The contractor was very angry. He said he would sue her and put a lien on their house. He called me crying, but I didn't answer. Uncle Leander's boat repair shop called him too. His $40,000 check bounced. He had already approved $35,000 in work. Parts were ordered. Labor was scheduled. He called me 4 times. I let it go to voicemail. Mom and Dad's checks bounced too. They had written checks for Christmas gifts for other grandchildren. The grandchildren were confused. Mom called me at 11 p.m. "Amaranth, people are asking us for money we don't have. Can you help?" I said, "No, Mom. You have the money. You just saw it. I have money because I manage it carefully. James stole from me and tricked you. That is his problem, not mine." I hung up the phone. On December 28th, Detective Callum called again. "Your brother hired a lawyer," she said. "His lawyer wants to know if he can pay money to make the case go away." I asked, "Restitution for what?" "He didn't steal anything from me. My properties are still mine." Restitution is for the people who lost money because of bounced checks, she explained. I said firmly, I am not the one who lost money. He is. I'm not negotiating with him. On January 15th, James was officially charged with 8 counts of check fraud and 1 count of attempted identity theft. The district attorney decided to move forward even without my active participation. The bank report was enough proof for them to take action. On February 3rd, James' lawyer negotiated a plea deal. James got 2 years of probation, a $50,000 fine, had to pay back anyone who lost money, do community service, and attend fraud counseling. Amara and Dorian lost $10,000 on the contractor deposit. Uncle Leander lost $35,000 on the boat repair. Mom and Dad lost $8,000 because of the bounced Christmas checks for the grandchildren. That added up to $53,000 total. James sold his BMW, which he had for 2 years, took out a second mortgage on his house, and borrowed money from his retirement account to pay it all. His wife was furious. I heard through Amara that they had separated. On March 1st, Zephra called. James' lawyer asked if I wanted to meet with him. I said no. He wanted to apologize personally. I said, he should apologize to the people he actually harmed. I am not interested in his fake apology. My parents said that I was tearing the family apart. I said, James tore the family apart when he committed fraud. I am not the glue to fix their problems. That is not my job. On April 10th, I received a letter from James. It was 12 pages long. He wrote about how he felt overshadowed, how he wanted to prove he was important, and how he convinced himself that I didn't really need my properties. He thought I would understand. I read the letter once, and then filed it in a folder labeled Accountability Theater. 6 months later, my savings account reached its highest point ever. The $17,000 monthly rent money that I no longer had to hide or explain kept accumulating beautifully. I booked a trip to Barcelona, something I had always wanted to do, but I had postponed because family gatherings always got in the way of my travel plans. The silence in my life feels different now. It's not the silence of being ignored. It's the silence of closing the door on people who confuse access with entitlement. I saw James once by accident at a coffee shop in March. He looked older, tired, and had gray hair at his temples. He saw me and turned around, leaving his coffee order at the counter. I didn't follow him. My mother texts me occasionally. She sends brief messages like, "Hope you're well." I responded, "I am nothing more." The conversation never goes beyond that. Amara sends Christmas cards now. Last year, the card included a photo of her family and a note saying, "We think of you." I didn't respond. This year's card arrived yesterday. The message was the same. I didn't respond. I am not punishing them. I am just no longer letting them tell their version of reality, the story where I am struggling, incompetent, or grateful for their interference. That story is over. The account is closed. The balance is 0. And I am finally free.